Hello there, people of the internet. I'm going to go ahead and make this video so I can send this link to basically anyone who asks, because I get a lot of different questions about it. I use this stuff all the time. This is Turkish 8mm Mauser ammunition. Fantastic stuff, but it's got some issues. So, let's go ahead and talk about what it actually is. What this is supposed to be is this is a 155 grain bullet that should be traveling about 3,000 or so feet per second, which is on par with the German specifications for one of their cartridges where they had that same bullet traveling at that same speed. There's speculation out there that this right here is ammunition that has become hotter than it is supposed to be because of powder degradation. And then we'll have people in the comments down below like basically yell at me whenever I say that. They're like, no, it's exactly to German specs. Well, go watch 8mm Mauser Man's chronograph of this stuff, because he chronographs several batches of it, and he gets velocities up to 3,200 feet per second, which is quite cooking it for a 150 grain bullet, or a 155 grain bullet. That's a lot of velocity. That's a lot of power. Not only that, but we have seen several instances of these cartridges right here being observed after shooting, like the brass cases, and they almost always show pressure signs, like signs of excessive pressure. Most often than not, it is the primers being bulged out, but oftentimes you'll get neck cracks and case cracks and things like that. That could be due to brittle brass, but the primers being bulged out, that is a surefire way to tell that your ammunition is running hotter than it is supposed to. So what this stuff actually is, a lot of people see this silver color and they think that this is just a solid steel bullet, and they're like, no, don't shoot that, it's not good for your gun. Shooting solid steel bullets will wear out your rifling. This is not solid steel. Solid steel bullets do exist out there, but man, they are exceptionally rare because they do mess up your guns. Most often than not, they're going to be steel core, and these are in fact steel core. Or at least the ones that I've observed are. I'm sure there are lead core ones out there. It just kind of really depends on the year, I think, for that particular situation. But what these are is these are nickel plated. People seem to think that if it's not copper plated, then it must be steel because it's silver. No. Turkey, whenever they were making these bullets, they had just an abundance of nickel, and so these are nickel plated. They don't work quite as well as copper plated bullets, but they work plenty well enough. So let's go ahead and dive into the meat and potatoes of this video, I guess. People ask, hey, is this platform safe for this ammo? Or is that platform safe for this ammo? Or should I not do this? Should I not do that? I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and say, well, first off, I'm going to say I hold no liability for anything. If you decide to go out and do something stupid, then that's on you. If you have a bolt-action Mauser, an 8mm Mauser of some kind, whether it's a 93 action or a 98 action or something like that, odds are it's going to be strong enough to be able to handle this. The 98 action is a stronger action than the 93 action, but the 93 action is strong enough to be able to handle it. I'm sure somebody's going to bring up Ian McCollum and how he cracked his Mauser stock while shooting this ammunition. Yes, if you shoot this very hot ammo through your 100-year-old Mauser, there is a likelihood for you to crack your stock, as there is if you were to shoot any kind of ammunition out of that 100-year-old gun. I don't know how well he keeps his stocks lubricated. I don't know if he keeps them oiled or well taken care of or anything like that, but a dry stock can crack quite easily. That being said, just because a stock cracks, that doesn't mean the rifle is broken. I have shot many guns with cracked stocks, just kind of toss some wood glue inside that bad boy and keep running it. Just because the stock is cracked or something, that doesn't make the action unsafe. That doesn't mean it's going to fly back in your face or anything like that, unless the stock is like physically crumbling in your hand. But I just reinforce that with some wood glue and I keep running it. So any kind of Mauser 98 action, I've had a ton of people go into the comments and they'll ask me, hey, can my Yugo Mauser shoot this? Is it a 98? Yeah? Then yes, it can. Can my Czech Mauser shoot this? This is a Sporter-S Czech Mauser. Well, is it a 98? Yes? Then yes, it can. Can my Car 98 shoot this? Is it a Mauser 98? Yes? Then yes, it can. Where you start to see issues is whenever we start talking about Mauser 93 actions, just because the action is not... Haha, good catch. Just because the action is not quite as as stable or as strong as the Mauser 98 action. Like, for example, this right here is a Turkish long rifle. This particular one is 1934 produced, and it looks like this used to be chambered in 765 Argentine, and we can tell that because the receiver right here has been cut out for the 8mm Mauser conversion of these rifles, which is something that was done many, many years ago. This is a Mauser 93 action, and the easiest way to tell is whenever I close this rifle, the bolt stops right here, and I have to fight spring tension in order to fully close this rifle because it is a cock-on-close action. That's the easiest way to tell a 98 from a 93, because a 98 is a cock-on-open. If you're opening the rifle and you feel spring tension fighting you as you open the rifle and the rifle cocks itself, then it's probably a 98. So that's not a hard set fast rule because there's other variations and versions of Mausers out there, but that's an entirely different video of its own. But even your 93 Mausers should be strong enough to handle whatever it is that you stick in there, including your hot Turkish 8mm Mauser ammunition. And I know that just because I've ran a tremendous amount of this Turkish ammo through my Turkish Mausers. As a matter of fact, I've had like 3 Turkish Mausers, all 93 actions. I don't think I've had a single Turkish Mauser that was a 98 action. And I run Turkish ammo through those bastards, and I'm talking thousands of rounds worth of Turkish ammo. And not only do we not have any walking headspace, which is a good indicator that these steels and whatnot can be able to withstand those pressures, but I don't have any issues whatsoever from those 93 actions. Now, if you run it through, say, a Spanish rifle or something like that that has a softer metal to it, you might start to run into some issues. You might want to just pay attention to the head spacing on those rifles as you continue to use them, but I'll go ahead and I'll leave that one up to you guys, whether or not you want to run Turkish ammo through your Spanish Mausers. Spanish Mausers do have softer metal. It's been tested and proven, and they do have walking headspace on cartridges that are a little bit more potent. I've seen that personally. I had a Oviedo Mauser blow up in my face whenever I shot a whole bunch of 308 ammo through it and the headspace started to walk. So, 8mm Mauser. Do not run this, or Turkish 8mm Mauser. Do not run this in a self-loading semi-auto firearm. Like, for example, I have a Hakeem right here in 8mm Mauser. Do not try running the Turkish stuff in this thing. It will not work out for you. There are quite a few people out there who have had their semi-autos blow up and they'll lose fingers and eyes and things like that because the ammunition is just too hot for what most of these gas systems are designed for. Even the ones that have the gas cutoff systems like this right here, I still would not trust it just because of the systems are not designed for those kinds of pressure. They're not strong enough to be able to handle those kinds of pressure. Even Ian McCollum himself said that he had buddies that were missing body parts because they tried running this Turkish ammo through self-loading firearms and it did not work out. So no, these are not Mausers. These are not Mauser 98s. These are not Mauser 93s. These are not bolt-action rifles. Do not run Turkish ammo through any kind of self-loading rifle. Great, great. Glad we got that through everybody's head. So I'm sure someone's going to ask about Turkish 30-06. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to bet that they probably typed the question before they got this far in the video. So they're going to just sit down there and wait for an answer versus typing into Google. So here's your answer, and I'll probably just give you a timestamp. I'll figure out what time this actually is at. Running Turkish 30-06 through an M1 Grand. If you're running 1967 or older Turkish 30-06, that is whenever they had some sort of quality control update and that ammunition seems to be fine. I have a video where I ran, I don't know, I think it was like 50 rounds of this stuff through my M1 Grand just to see what would happen. And it ran fine. It ran flawlessly. But then there's people who will have like 1964 in particular dated ammunition, and that stuff is notorious for going bang and blowing apart the stock in your M1 Grand because the brass, for whatever reason during that year, is just too gosh darn brittle. And whenever the brass blows apart, the rifle blows apart itself. It's just not, it's not good. It's definitely not good. So, Turkish 30-06, I would go ahead and just go out on a limb and say, do not shoot that in self-loading firearms either. If you do, you are taking a risk. Maybe your badge is good, maybe it's not. From what I can tell, 1967 dated and newer is going to be fine. But I would definitely recommend sticking to your bolt-action rifles for any kind of surplus Turkish ammunition. Like, for example, I got my 1917 Enfield right here in 30-06. I would not feel bad at all loading any kind of Turkish 30-06 into this rifle right here. My sight's a little crooked. There we go. Just because I have no doubts that the action of this rifle would be able to take it. There's no gas systems. The lock system on this is nice and tight. We don't have the issues that you would get from something like an M1 Grand, which has a gas system on it. These right here, the chamber stays closed. Everything stays closed up until the pressure inside the chamber has fallen. And in the event that you do get a ruptured case, most of your rifles are going to have some sort of gas vent hole on them for the gas to go versus back into the shooter's face or back into the stock or somewhere along those lines. So there you go. Hopefully this video cleared some things up. Hopefully this answered some questions. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see y'all later.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.